Hey, welcome to Creative Block. We're your hosts, V.
And Sean. We interview people in the creative industries about their life, their work, and hobbies while we doodle jam.
And today, while we Magma Jam, we're switching it up, y'all, because Google Jam is retiring in October. But we asked people on our social medias if they had specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts.
Listen, today we have with us Margo Animates.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, so exciting to have an animator on the pod. We've had like a ton of questions from listeners because I think everybody's excited to hear about what it's like to animate.
Oh, I love animating, dude. It's great. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world.
Especially because it's like, I feel like schools and when you're studying for animation or whatever, like teachers will always be like, oh, there's no jobs in animation as an animator.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
That's not what my school told me. My school was like, you're gonna be an animator, and they were like, good luck.
What was it like for you? Like being in, like, first of all, like what school did you go to, and what was it like for you realizing you love animating and then people telling you like you're not going to be able to do that?
So I didn't really get that wake up call until later in my career because I went to SCAD Atlanta, and SCAD Atlanta is like, so SCAD Savannah is like more artsy fartsy, and people who are from SCAD are going to hear this and go like, what are you talking about? Well, the SCAD Atlanta campus is super based on how to get a job, and they're more focused on you getting a job, I think, than they are focused on you knowing how to draw, which is my only criticism for SCAD Atlanta. SCAD Savannah is really concerned with you knowing how to draw, and they're not as concerned with you like career-wise, because they know that will come eventually. But SCAD Atlanta is like, no way, we're going to make sure that you like get your job and get your foot in the door and make sure you know how to write a resume and you write all that stuff. So like, but they were also in a city, Atlanta, Georgia, where there's a lot of studios around that still do animation, and they do a lot of retake animation as well. And so I didn't realize retake animation was a career path until after I had worked at Floyd County for about like 3 years. So after I graduated from SCAD, and while I was at SCAD, I was interning at a place called Primal Screen. After I had graduated from SCAD, I went over the highway, which is like really just across the highway, and worked at a place called Floyd County Productions, which is the studio that makes Archer. Luckily, I didn't work on Archer because Archer isn't very like exciting to work on. But because like they make all the assets in Illustrator and they animate them in After Effects. So if you're like a Toon Boom Flash person, that's like hell to you. But the people who did animate on it, once they figured out the pipeline, they were chill with it. But I worked at Floyd County because they had a movie coming up called America the Motion Picture, and I did a bunch of harmony stuff on that, and I also did a bunch of stuff on some other shows. And that's when that's when COVID happened. So I was animating for like a minute at a studio that wasn't an LA studio for like a long time, and then about like almost 3 years of animating in Atlanta. And then I got let go from Floyd because they're like, oh, we don't have any more projects, and we have to start cutting some people. So I was like, that's fine. So I left Floyd, and then after that I was like, well, I want to work on some other things. So I worked on Smiling Friends remotely as an animator for the Princess Bento studio in Australia for season 1.
I do like how you make it sound like I want to work on this, and then you just and then I was working on this.
I'll be real with you.
How did you get it? How did you get the jobs?
Okay. Oh yeah. So okay. I used to see a show and go, I want to work on that, and then I would try my damnedest to do it. So Smiling Friends, for example, right? I was like, okay, so who knows Smiling Friends? So Zach and Michael are leading Smiling Friends. I was like, okay, well, Tomar knows who they are. And so I messaged Tomar, and messaged a couple other people, but I messaged Tomar on Twitter. It's like, hey, listen, I'm really interested in working on Smiling Friends. Sorry for the random message. Do you know the studio that's making that? I would love to help out. And he goes, oh, it's Princess Bento. And I was like, thank you. So this person didn't know me from anything, but it helped that I had like a website. So he knew that I wasn't like just some random person who's like, it would be so cool if I could work on it, and then if I got it, I would know what to do with it. You know what I mean? I had a website and a portfolio and everything, so he could tell that I actually like, was willing to put my money where my mouth was. And he's like, oh, okay, so you're an animator who's actually working in the industry and you're looking for your next gig. So he's like, yeah, it's Princess Bento. So I emailed Princess Bento and let them know that I was really interested in working on the show, and then they emailed me and they were like, oh, we actually have availability for freelance people if you're interested. And I was like, heck yeah. And that's how I got my job at like Flying Bark. That's how I got my job at a lot of places where like I would reach out to people on LinkedIn that are working on things that I wanted to work on, and that's where I learned like what a producer does and what a director does. So it's like, okay, so this person, like this animator doesn't have any power to hire me, but this producer does. So that's how, like, by just reaching out to people and just going, hey, I just rolled off of my most recent project X, and, you know, I would love to connect with you for future work opportunity. Do you feel comfortable, you know, keeping me in mind if you're looking for workers on the next project that you're going to be producing on? Or do you feel comfortable recommending me for what you're working on right now? And like learning how to do that communication is really hard. So like, because at first you're like, well, don't they know I need work? It's like, yeah, but they don't owe you that, you know? So you kind of have to learn how to offer yourself as a useful aspect of the team. So you're not like, you know, you're not imposing yourself on that person. Like, hey, I want to help you. I'm an animator looking for work and I want to help you. I want to make your decision
I want to help you
making.
with me.
Yes, I want to help you with me. But also, like, producers have a hard time having like 1,000 emails or whoever the hiring rep is, and they don't know how to pick from these people, especially if there's no person who they know that can say, hey, this is my friend. I know they're not going to be a big weirdo on the show and like harass people, or just, you know, they're not going to make our project harder than what it needs to be. Because yeah, someone can draw, but what if they like kill people and wear their skin? Like, you don't know.
Oh
like,
my God.
You don't know. You don't know what you're dealing with.
So it's
you know
good to
what I mean?
message your producer, let them know you don't kill people made with skin, and in case you're having trouble choosing, I can help you choose. It's me.
Yeah, it's
and then
me.
they pick you.
Yeah, because like if you're brave enough and if you're good at communicating enough to message someone a formal message saying, hey, my name is so-and-so, introducing yourself, I just rolled off of this project, or I just graduated and I just finished my demo reel, just saying something like I just finished X. So it's like I have a previous step. Like, you aren't my first step, right? Like, I just finished my demo reel, I just updated my website, or I just finished my website. Like, do you feel comfortable keeping me in mind for the next opportunity that you're going to be hiring for? You know, I really appreciate, thank you for reading this message, you know. And that's how I got my job at Shadow Machine. That's how I got my job at Flying Bark. That's how I got on Smiling Friends. Because, like, if you can write a message that doesn't make someone's brain hurt reading it, and they also feel like you really care about their project, and that you're not just trying to get a job, but you also want to contribute to something, and you want to do a good job, and you don't want to take advantage of them, if they can get that feeling through your email, you're like a no-brainer. They're like, oh, thank God, someone who can just cold write an email and make me feel like they are genuinely like a reliable person, because they need someone who's reliable. So that's how I ended up getting these jobs, is because I practiced, like, okay, if I was in their position and I didn't know who the hell to hire, what would I want to see, you know?
You sound like you have an email superpower. You may be the strongest emailer we've ever.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. I was like,
Really?
how did you unlock this like secret?
No one has
arcana?
ever talked about emails so much on the podcast. It's great.
It's because I talk too much. I don't know. Like,
No, but that's awesome, because I think that's exactly the kind of stuff that a lot of our listeners wonder about, and how they're like, you know, it's like the big question is like, okay, I'm in school, but now I don't know what to do. Like, you know, I'm like about to graduate, and like, at what point in your career or school did you kind of start thinking about these things? Was it just kind of like, was it the college that helped you figure that out, or do you feel like it's something that you just kind of like studied on your own?
there was a lot of stuff that helped. The first thing was like, I had to do something cringe. I had to do something really cringe and look back on it and go, okay, that was not the way. You know, and it's like, so the cringe thing that I did, and I don't care, I'm going to go on record and say this.
Let's talk about the cringe.
We're going to talk about cringe, because listen, it's okay to be cringe. You have to be cringe. If you're going to be based, you have to be cringe first, and it's fine. Let yourself be cringe first, and don't think like, oh, I did this cringe thing, therefore I can't go outside and I'll never get a job in animation. Not true. Not true. You just need to let yourself go through it.
It's not if I cringe, therefore I am, or whatever.
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. You may be cringe, but you're free, right? So that's how it is. So I was at this Futurama talk. This is such an embarrassing story. I was at this Futurama talk I was a college student and I had just started going to SCAD. Now, I was at Columbus State for like 2 years, so it wasn't my first like college experience, but it was my first time being around other people who wanted to be animators. Because in Columbus, Georgia, like nobody really wants to be an animator, right? I don't know if that's changed now. So if you're from Columbus, I'm sorry, but I did not get the vibe from Columbus, military town in the deep south, that anybody wanted to be an animator. So I had to go to school in Atlanta. So when I transferred to SCAD, they had a Futurama talk and David Cohen was there. And if you know who David Cohen is, so this is David Cohen. I'm trying to like size his picture. There we go. Oh. So this is him. And he works on like Futurama or something. I don't know. I think it was Futurama. I'm gonna draw a little David Cohen right here. So he agreed to do a talk at SCAD, and which is very sweet of him, right? And him and some other like Futurama people were like, yeah, this is what it was like working on Futurama, and it was really cool, and we were all very happy to do it, you know? And afterwards, you could actually walk up to these guys who like worked on Futurama, and you could just talk to them. Like SCAD made it to where the floor opened up, and it's okay, everybody, bye, go home, and you could just talk to these guys. So this is like an amazing opportunity, right? I go down, my dumbass, right? I'm over here like wearing my hat and my dress and wearing makeup, but they don't know that I'm living out of my car until I find housing, right? So I'm putting on this front that I'm like, that I have got my shit together, right? And you can only do that so much before people find out that you don't have your shit together. So I'm like, hey, you're David Cohen. He goes, yeah. I said, I'm a really big fan of your work. I'm not. I didn't really know him that well. So I just said that, right? And I said, and he goes, yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. I think I was like 20 or 19 or something. I said, yeah, I would really like to network with you. Is that okay? Like to this face, like imagine like someone, like a kid, like a young, like a 20-year-old like saying that to you, and you're like, okay. And it gets worse. I took out my sketchbook. I put my book back down and took out my sketchbook, and people are like watching me. I wrote my email on the corner of my sketchbook and I tore it off and handed it to that man.
You gave it to him instead of asking for his email.
Yes,
you gave him yours.
Yes, and not only that, I ripped it off.
Yeah, it's not the worst cringiest thing. Like I will say, like it's just kind of funny because it's like if I were him, I would probably put it in the back pocket of my pants and then forget about it, and then it goes in like the washer, and then
throw out
like,
my pants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
so it's not cringe. It's just like it's more like an opportunity that just kind of vanished into the ether.
Into the ether. But when he looked at it, he was like, oh, and he just kind of took it and like put it in like his shirt pocket, and I thought to myself, okay, Margo, you did that wrong, but just get your backpack and hold your head high and leave. So after that, I was like, all right, so class, let's review. What did we do wrong? That's when I realized, like, oh, damn, I need a business card, right? That was like the first thing I kind of realized was like, oh, damn, I need a business card. And that's what helped me kind of realize, like, oh, there's more to this than just drawing. Yeah. There's more to this than, you know, a lot of these other things. And I was like, okay.
You know what though? I had a similar cringe experience where with a similar type of speaker. I think it was Anthony Shepard. I don't know if you've ever seen his animation. He's a experimental music video animator.
Ooh, that's very cool.
But he was speaking at our school, and I really liked his stuff. And the whole class was watching. And after he got done speaking, they said, "Do you have any questions?" And I raised my hand, and I was like, "Do you ever like hire anybody to help animate with you?" And he was like, he was like, I usually work alone. I don't really work with anybody. And I was like, what about like an intern, like someone who might work for free?
Me.
And then I like, what do you want, a janitor? Do you want someone to wipe your bum? Do you want like I was just like me, please, me, please, and everyone was just looking at me. And I remember one guy turned around. He was like, "That was kind of desperate, dude."
I would not be able to sleep for a week. I would be like, bro's right. I would be eating L's for days. Like
I changed my identity. I put my fingers on a frying pan, burned off my fingertips.
You burned off your fingertips?
I changed it.
It's not even
I changed everything.
Like, it's a whole different person. Oh my god.
I've been wearing a prosthetic face.
A prosthetic face? You know what? That's not that bad. Because how old were you?
40. No, I'm just kidding.
You were 40.
No. I was probably like 19, 20, 20 kind of.
1920? Yeah, like that's fine. Like people think that 19 and 20-year-olds are like adults. They're not. They're just like kids that are like released into the world, and then the world will teach them how to like how to have their soul sucked out of their body and be an adult, like, you know.
But it's a similar level of like just like an absence of tact and thought and like experience and street sense. like both of our stories are like, I really want this thing and I don't know the appropriate way to get this thing, but you're the first person I've encountered that can help me.
Yeah, like you have knowledge, you have secret knowledge. I don't have the knowledge that you have. How do I get it, you know? And it's great because like you need these cringe experiences so you can look back and go, okay, how can I improve? How can I make that better? And then you have to think about like kind of like the golden rule of like treat others the way you want to be treated. How would I, if I was in that person's position, how would I want to be treated? You can't think to myself like, oh, well, how will I get a job if people don't give me a chance? It's like, okay, do you know how many people need that chance? Like, right? A shit ton of people need that chance, right? You need to learn how to cringe. Yes. You have to ask yourself, why should they give me a chance? It's like, oh, well, because I need it. No, sweetheart, you're almost there. Like, not because you need it or that you deserve it or you've earned it or whatever. The universe, because the universe isn't going to just give you your thing. You have to figure out what you can give to the universe before the universe can give back. So what can you offer? And you want to, because you're contributing not just to a job, but you're contributing to an art form. And this art form has been molded and it's been like refined for years and years and years. And then it's been made accessible to you because like you wouldn't be able to do this art form 100 years ago. 100 years ago, you'd be too busy like growing your own food in your backyard and like you'd barely have access to grocery stores, right? Like 100 years ago, like not many people had even the ability to work on Snow White, let alone like thrive in it, you know? Like it's the fact that everyone has the access to this now. Be grateful for it. Don't see it as competition. Be grateful. It's a blessing. It's genuinely a blessing. So moving forward, how can you continue to contribute to that craft now that like it's giving you like society is giving you the ability to like to really do it. And like you have to like want to be here for more than the money. And I know that sounds really shitty. It's like, yeah, no, you absolutely need to be able to like pay your bills and live and all that. But people can smell when all you want is to feel like people can smell the desperation. They can smell it when it's like, oh, all this kid wants is to feel important. That's it. Like they don't care about the art. They don't care about like, you know, the greats who have come before us and their sacrifice to getting us to a point where we can all have so much accessibility to art and we can have this kind of creative, like, you know, like this kid just wants to feel important. Like it, like, does it matter that it's animation for this person or does it matter that they just want to be part of something greater? And like having that heart to heart,
being on the other end of that too is sort of like sometimes it can feel when you're these types of people who like they recognize that they're a gateway into a job.
Yeah.
But it can feel as though everyone who's talking to them is using them to get a job rather than really trying to have a genuine conversation.
Yeah, and that is so unfortunate.
Sometimes they just want to have a little bit of foreplay with I mean not like actual foreplay. I mean like
writing this down,
load me up. You know, no, like just talk to me like I'm a human for a little bit before you try to get something out of me and throw me away.
Yeah. Yeah,
for real.
yeah. Like I've had experiences with some newer people. Hold on, I'm gonna get my Digimon card that I made of my Digimon. So someone's like, "Dry Digivolution." I was like, "I have reference right here." Yeah, like and you feel for them because it's like you completely empathize with them needing to carve out their space in the industry, and you don't like. I mean, I don't judge them for it. It's like you gotta, you know, you're getting the bag, bro. Like you're trying to like figure this out. And what I think a lot of people don't understand is like it's okay if like you can't be trusted right now to be given a really big responsibility, because I've been on projects where people were given a tremendous amount of responsibility and they fumbled it because they weren't ready. And it's okay. They're not a bad person. They're not unprofessional. They're not like a piece of shit or anything. They just weren't ready. And like, you know, people, they don't realize that in order to be a big part of this industry, you have to be able to handle a lot of responsibility and you have to be able to handle things just not not going your way and you not being able to do a damn thing about it. And you have to still like walk away with your head held high and still make stuff. Like that's hard, you know? And it takes a while of like literally making art to get to a point like in being on projects and having that experience and just taking time, like taking real time, you know. It takes a long time before getting to a point where you can be trusted with big responsibilities. Like for example, not to like hurt anybody's feelings who's listening right now, but show running. There's so many people who are like, I just got out of college and I want to show run. It's like, dude, like you're talking about like corporations who could be consumed by other corporations at any minute in this capitalistic hellscape, who every single decision they have to make is like down to like the follower, the penny, or like the micropixel, and they have teams of lawyers like ready to swoop in and like save them whenever crazy shit happens. And you're telling this big corporation that they need to trust you with millions of dollars to make the idea that you've had since you were 6 years old, but you've never done anything group project based before. And if you have, it was under the supervision of a teacher. Like that's
show run. You haven't even show crawled. You haven't even show been born.
Yeah, dude, you gotta show hatch. Like don't rush this project. Like don't rush your life. Like, because we see a lot of like young people on social media who are like millions of followers. Those people could not get a show. Like you think like, this person who has millions of followers get a show. No, they can't. Like they have other experience under their belt. They've talked to other people. They've been around other people. They've worked on other things. Like, and a lot of it behind the scenes that you don't know. That's what got people to trust them with that responsibility. Not like, I have this many followers. It's not that simple. It's like followers, I tell people all the time, like followers don't pay your rent, dude. Followers don't feed you. And I know people who have a shit ton of followers, and they're like, dude, I'm struggling to pay bills. And it's hard for me to get an apartment because you have to tell a landlord, yeah, I've got this many followers online and I have a Patreon and I do commissions, and you show it to them and they're like, I'm not going to give you this loan for a car. I'm not going to, you know, I don't feel comfortable with you being my tenant because I don't understand this. I don't get this. So it's hard, dude. It's, you know, I think a lot of young people out of college, they don't realize how the world really works because all they see and all that's shoved down their throats is social media, because it's not totally their fault either, because it's really shoved down their throats, you know?
I think what's really interesting also about what you're talking about, Margot, is that like, and I'm glad that you're talking about like generations and like different like age groups, because Sean and I were a little bit, we're starting to fall a little bit in the old farts category, and it's kind of nice to hear from the experience of someone who got on the market like more recently and who's kind of thinking about all these things. And do you feel like when you were in school, you kind of like, what was your experience with social media when you were in school?
You know, I had professors tell me that you should post some of these drawings online and you should start a following. And I was like, I don't want to. I just told him, I don't want to do that. He's like, why? I'm like, because I work 2 jobs, bro. Like, I don't have time. Like, I was working while I was in college. Like, I didn't care if it wasn't me talking to someone who could get me an interview for the studio I wanted to work at. I didn't care. And I knew that I was like, I'm taking a risk because I don't know what social media is going to do for artists like years down the line. But I also had another professor that was like, I had a professor that worked in a lot of industries. Like she was working a lot. And her name was Jenna Zona, and she's awesome. And Jenna Zona, if you're hearing this right now, thank you for being like an amazing inspiration. She sat me down and told me really like what the truth was about a lot of industries and how like this is, you know, you need to be professional. You need to like have a good head on your shoulders. It's not just drawing. And I talked to her a lot about like, hey, like what I really want to do. I really want to do an internship. What are some places that you think would be good? And I don't remember if it was her or if it was Matt Maloney or if it was Greg Azzopardi or Keith Ingham, any of these professors who I love with all my heart. One of them had recommended Primal Screen. So I would just straight up ask them, how do I present myself to them in a professional way? Like, do you think I should email them? Like, I just workshop with them. What do you think is the right way to go about this? And like, that's how they kind of like, you know, like that's how they kind of steered me into that direction. I did not care about social media. Like I absolutely followed like Themrock, who's now like Dirk online, and like Wimmery and like a bunch of other cool artists, but they were doing like, my brain didn't think that they were doing what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an animator. And if being an animator meant that I didn't have an online presence, or if an online presence wasn't as important to literally get the job, I didn't care. And now I'm seeing people who have online presences are able to kind of easily staff their indie projects. And like, that's very cool. But like, that also requires a lot of like time and money too. So it's like, okay, so it's kind of neat that like you can see the value in it. But if you don't have the time to take on that responsibility, I don't think people should feel pressured to do that, you know, because that's not good. That's not what's going to get you the job. What's going to get you the job is sending the email, having a letter of recommendation, working with a team of people to make a film, even if it's small, and put it in film festivals, and traveling with that and meeting people through those festivals and letting them know, hey, I'm actually looking for my next gig. Here's my business card. My website is running. My website's on GoDaddy or fucking Squarespace, even if it's just ArtStation. Like, this is my website, and this is a very fast and easy way to see my work immediately and quickly, because I know you're very busy and I don't want to take up too much of your time. And them knowing that you respect them goes a really long way. Social media doesn't imply any of that. Like, someone could have hundreds of followers, but they could be an asshole. And so like, that's why like studios aren't clamoring to hire like, oh, this guy has hundreds of followers, let's see if we can hire him for the next episode or for the next season of Moon Girl. They're not doing that because they don't know if that person is easy to work with or if that person is an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. No, that's super great. I love that you're saying that, because I feel like and I forget if Sean, that was your story too, but like a lot of our guests were like, well, you know, you post on Tumblr every day, or like you post on Instagram. But I feel like that strategy is like fizzling out now. And I really enjoy like your more like down to earth, like very like just like professional approach to finding the first gig.
Anyone who's listening, do not feel pressured to post on a goddamn motherfucking Twitter, Scram. Don't do that. You don't feel like you have to do shit.
I feel like when I was starting, it sort of felt like, okay, there's these social media apps, like you can strike gold and you can get big and go viral, and then you'll get jobs off of that or whatever. But what's happening now is, and it's happened both with streaming, by like, you know, streaming platforms just firing their whole animation departments and stuff like that. But it's also happened with social media sites where like all of a sudden Instagram has turned his back on artists by implementing the AI thing. All of a sudden like, who knows what's happening with Twitter. It's made artists sort of change their mind a little bit because they don't even know what place it's safe to invest their time in.
Yeah. Like, and you got to think, like, think about social media from the perspective of Google Maps, right? How did families go on vacation without Google Maps? How did families like go on vacation?
They just got lost.
They just got lost. Like they knew how to read a map, and they could stop and ask for directions. That is exactly what it's like navigating the like animation job plane without social media. And quite honestly, I think it's better. Like one of my animation friends, Marty, she just sends emails and it works. She just sends emails. That's how she works. She works at Warner Brothers. She's worked at Shadow Machine. She just sends emails, and she keeps track of the people she's met, and she remembers their names and remembers their emails. Like, you can have like a spreadsheet if you want, because I have a horrible memory, right? And I'm starting to get to a point where I need a spreadsheet where it's like, okay, like I need to write down who this person is, and like maybe have a link to their website, and then where I met them and where I worked with them on, and then an email that I can use to get in contact with them. And even if you can't get in contact with them with their email, their website probably has a contact me that they see it gets sent to their, because like my contact me page gets sent right to me from my website. So you can still get in touch with them, you know, and you can get in touch with them on social media, and they'll remember who you are and say, hey, we worked on such and such together. I'm actually looking for my next gig. If you know anyone who's hiring for this position or these positions, if you feel comfortable letting me know, that would be fantastic. And then they're also looking for connections as well, because like the connections that they're making are, you know, like eventually some of your connections will get to a point where they're like, I'm not in animation anymore, or I'm taking a break because I'm starting a family, or I'm actually moving to another state and I want to work a different kind of gig. So their connections are also recycling. So they're going to be, most likely, most people will be on the lookout to make new connections and keep strong connections up, you know? So don't feel like you're a burden on them for asking them, because they want to feel comfortable enough to where they can ask you, because they might be in a position where they need something and they go, oh, well, this person asked me and now I feel comfortable asking them. and like helping each other and keeping like especially keeping people employed that you trust, that you know respect other people's boundaries, like especially like during like the pipeline and stuff, like just chill people who are good to work with, like that does a lot of good for the industry. It also does a lot of good for you, you know. I feel
Mhm.
like I go on a tangent, dude. I don't know how
No,
you're
that
I
was
feel like
that is super awesome. And I think that is the kind of conversation that we haven't really had in a while on the pod. So I'm like really excited that you brought it up like naturally too, because I think that's the kind of like, you know, like it's obviously worked for you. It's obviously worked for your friend that you just said like is only sending emails, and it's nice to hear that, because sometimes, you know, it could be, what's the word, like just kind of very it's not like disappointing, but like people, you know, it's easy to feel like you're stuck in a corner if you're just posting on Instagram, hire me, and you're not getting any bites. Like it's nice to know like, hey, there's also all these other avenues that are actually that perform a lot higher for your.
yeah.
I also kind of wanted to ask you, so you said, so you started by animating, and you
Yes.
started by animating in industry studios. You started in industry studios, and you started by animating, which I think is awesome because you got the career you wanted. And what kind of motivated you to move to LA? Because I was in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, so what motivated me to move to LA was, so I was very lucky to be at Floyd County. Floyd County was a studio that like a lot of stuff was happening at. And when I noticed that the workload at Floyd County started to kind of dwindle, that's when I realized that, oh shit, I think I might need to move. And so when I was working on Smiling Friends, they had a premiere party for season 1, and it's so funny, like I didn't get the invite, so I was like, what the hell? And then I realized that like a lot of like the Discord that we used to work got shut down before we all got the invite. And so we were like, wait a minute, wait a minute. And then Zach was like, no, I want people to be able to come. So we all actually reached out to each other, and it wasn't his fault. It was like Princess Bento was just trying to do what they, like protect the NDA and all that, and doing what they were supposed to do. And so we were like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, we all want to go. So we all like message each other to make sure we could all go. And Zach and Michael made sure we could go, because like they want to make sure everybody goes, even if it's like everyone in Australia who might not feel like taking that flight. If they want to take that flight, they could. And the party was in Los
Mm-hmm.
Angeles, and there was a lot of American artists that also helped out on it in freelance. That's where I came in. So we went to the party, and I had so much fun being surrounded by all these creatives. It was very different than Georgia. And in Georgia, a lot of the creative people that I was around, they weren't, I was around some alumni, but a lot of alumni already moved to LA. So I was like, huh, we've got a
Mhm.
lot of people moving to California. That's kind of interesting. And then when I went to the premiere party for Smiling Friends, I had such a fun time talking to everyone about just the state of the industry and things that I care about related to art and animation. And they resonated with that, and really felt like I was part of this community before I even had moved there. So I visited a lot. I visited like one or two more times, and I stayed with people, and I met people more and more, and decided, you know what, I think I want to do this. I'm young. I'm not married, and I don't have a child, like I think this is like a perfect time for me to figure out like some cool shit with my life that I think would be really fun. And I really wanted to move specifically. Well, one of the things specifically was that like I wanted better health insurance. So anyone in the chat who has like an autoimmune disorder, I have celiac disease, and it sucks not being able to eat gluten. It's the worst. But you really need a good doctor, and you really need a good like you need good health insurance. And in Georgia, the marketplace health insurance isn't very good. And the health insurance that I had from Floyd, I had so many issues and problems with it, and it wasn't Floyd's fault. Just insurance companies are just, they be tripping, like they don't do right, they don't do right, they don't like, you try to file claims and they don't care, and it's bullshit, right? So when I saw that the union had like they had like access to really good health insurance, I was like, fuck it, we ball. So then I just decided that I wanted to move for lots of different reasons. But I
Mm-hmm.
really just kind of looked at the state of what Atlanta was doing, and I didn't want to work at Bento Box because I'm not the biggest fan of their contract. Like Bento Box Atlanta, Bento Box LA is from what I understand is great. It's really fast paced from what I hear, but I hear it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Bento Box Atlanta, they don't pay as much as LA because that Atlanta studio isn't part of the Animation Guild, and the Animation Guild's agreement. And so like I think when I left, this could have changed. When I left, it was $8.50 a week, and you were salary, which means they could work you for 60 hours a week if they wanted to.
Ooh.
And dude, but if you're a college kid right out the bat and you have a
Like you're
salary
going to.
job,
Yeah.
you feel like, oh, this is great, this is awesome. And then you don't realize, oh, like I think I actually like want to leave, and I think I want to kind of go for a little bit more. They're a great stepping stone studio, but they definitely cash in on the fact that Scat Atlanta is like right there. And you
Yeah.
know, like them being a stepping stone, kind of like Mercury, is like that's just kind of where they are. And like I don't hate it, but I had to leave if I wanted to grow. I had to leave to find something more. So I just kind of looked at everything around me and realized if I want to grow and if I want to expand, I think being there in person, because I really love to talk, I really love to meet people in person and connect with them in person. I think me being there in person would serve me better than me just kind of trying to connect with people online. So that's why I moved, was because I felt like I would make a bigger impact if I was there in person. And a lot of people I talk to really agree that it makes a tremendous difference. But it's not necessary. Like some people, like I couldn't live in LA, and that's totally fine. They make it work. But a lot of people who are here, they talk about how like they do talk about the big difference it's made being here in person, being able to like
Yeah.
have group chats and like still go, like I still go to lunch with the
Go to
Praise
drinking
PD
draws with
crew.
people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like drink and draws are really lovely to like kind of like break the ice and get yourself comfortable with the place that you're in. But really like getting that first project and then being friends with the crew that you're on, and you guys are like seeing eye to eye and it's great. And then you guys having a group chat that you keep after the production is done, and then you meet occasionally for lunch, that's the golden ticket. Like you want to get
big,
on a
yeah.
project, keep in touch with them, have a group chat. I have a Discord for Retake animators like that I've worked with and that people have worked with, and we all trust each other and we add them. And then it's like, hey guys, let's go out to lunch. And we have a jobs chat where it's like anytime we hear about a job, we'll post it there, because you build a little like found family, and you care about each other. And I think people should do the same thing with their graduating class. Like if your graduating class is on the same wavelength as you, and there's a lot of people on the same wavelength, those are the people you want to network with, because those are the people that are going to be following you and growing with you as you guys go through the industry. You want to stay in touch with those people, and you want to stay on good terms with those people. And like, because everybody, like, I know college be kind of crazy and drama be happening in college, but college, like, if you have any L's that you took in college, like just apologize to them and be like, hey man, sorry that we had that weird thing in college. I want to be on good terms with you because I think it's important. Like
that's when I was cringe.
Yeah, that's when I was cringe. I'm base now, dude. I'm base now. We're base now. We're all base now. But yeah, like I think it's more important to network with people that you graduated alongside and people that are on the similar journey as you and that have similar experience as you than it is to network with people who have more experience than you, because it's like those are the people that are going to be in the same climates as you, and those are the people that are going to have their ear to the ground in the same places as you. And it's hard to cover all that ground as one person. Like, you don't know, like I don't know what's happening at Warner Brothers. Because I know a lot about what's happening at Titmouse, but I do have friends that are in Warner Brothers, and those friends let me know what's happening there, because like I can't know because I'm not there, but in return I let them know what's happening at Titmouse. Like, hey, there's this project coming up, and like we're looking for designers, or we're looking for this person and that person, and like I met the producer because I'm in the state, right? I'm in LA County, so I'm able to physically meet the producer and have a conversation. So he likes my vibe. So if I gave him a recommendation, he would trust me. Like it sounds like manipulation, but I swear it's not. It's just
no. It's closer to being like Lord Varys with all your little birds that report to
Oh
you.
my god, I got that reference. My boyfriend just showed me Game of Thrones, but it kind of is though, because Lord Varys, like, he like knows what he's doing. Like he's informed. Information is so much more valuable than money or followers or fame or popularity. Information is information, like people who want information should treat it as valuable as it is. Like, oh, I want you to give me free information and do it now. Oh my god, I made this hilarious meme. Okay, wait. How do I find this meme? I made this really funny meme. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Where is it? There it is. Copy image. Can I paste this here? Hold on, I'm gonna make a new thingy. anything. I made this meme and shared it around. Look at this. Look at this. I am looking for work. No, I do not have a website. Send me your supervisor's email now.
Yeah.
Don't do this.
Just barging through.
Yes.
Barging through.
Yes, don't do this. Please don't do this, because this is like this
career
is
ender.
Yeah.
Well, this is like a Karen asking for a job.
Yeah.
This is like, first of all, let me speak to your manager. Second of all, no, I don't have to tell you who I am.
I don't have to tell you who
Third
I
of all,
am. I don't owe you anything, but I need you to give me life-changing information that will set my career going, and then I also won't thank you. That's me. Look, look, it's so cute. The David Cohen. Look at he put his hand in there. That's hilarious.
I drew you getting a talk to by your teacher too up here.
Was it? Yeah. Oh yeah. That's Jen Azona. You need a professional. I need to network. Yeah. That's great. Little Bird on Discord told me. That's absolutely true. Oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, like it's like you guys like anybody who's like, how do I get my shit together, like career wise or animation wise, understand that you are in this with everyone else. You're not alone, you know, and that you have to start learning how to like be part of a family of people that care about each other. And it's hard, especially someone like me who I'm incredibly independent. I make friends, but I have a really difficult time making close friends. I have 2 close friends. Like right now I have 2 bridesmaids, you know. I have 2 close friends, and everyone else is like a very close friend, but they're people who I either haven't kept up with in a long time and I don't feel like I have the right to ask them to be a bridesmaid, or people who like right?
You need to make like a bachelorette, but it's for bridesmaids.
It's for
like
bridesmaids, yeah.
I'm on a search for my best friend. All my current acquaintances have to, you know, participate on this game show,
It's
so I
so
can
real
decide.
though, because I was like listening. Okay, this is gonna sound insane, but like I was listening, and that happened in 2 different podcasts I listened to. I listened to a million true crime podcasts, and in these 2 different podcasts, it was like the FBI trying to get close to a suspect, and they're both like, it's actually really hard to get to close to the suspect because he has a very limited intimate circle.
Yeah.
He has 3 friends. He goes to church and he goes to work. And I'm like, literally, this is me, but without the church.
Yeah.
That's so funny that like the FBI or whatever, like they're going through making friends problems.
Yeah,
like they're struggling. They're looking up like YouTube videos on like how to make new friends.
Because at the FBI cookout, they all know each other. You know, like at the FBI cookout, like they're fine. You know, like they do Secret Santa. Like they go on picnics, they go on hikes. Like, you know, FBI be tight knit.
How to speed run make friends.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that like they like what I'm saying is like for them it's like very difficult to get close to a suspect who has like and when they called it like, oh, it's a very limited social circle. I'm like, bro, please.
First you have to start talking to them in a Twitch chat, and then you try to get into a Discord with them, and then hopefully you can catch them when they're in the Discord call kind of group drawing, and you can join the group draw a little bit.
But then you said something cringe and awkward, and so they left, and then so now you're starting from scratch again.
Oh my god! And then you got to figure out how to gain their trust again with a new screen name.
You gotta gain their trust.
How do you ask them where they live? Like, oh, we happen to be in the same area. This is crazy.
We could go get coffee, and then we never get coffee. Like,
oh my god, that's too LA.
We really have to hang out. We gotta connect sometime. That's every LA conversation. Is like, oh, dude, we gotta hang out. We gotta hang out. Hang out.
It's funny you mentioned this. I just did a volunteer. I just volunteered for tag. Another thing is volunteer. Everybody volunteer. It's really fun, and you should totally do it. And it's a really great way to make friends. Like I volunteered for tag, and I almost got heat stroke volunteering in the hot fucking sun, but it was worth it. My brain was cooked, but afterwards I went to have food with people who I'm in a Discord with, and it was really, I think, the first time I ever felt like it was just completely natural being around them. It was the first time it ever felt natural, and I was like, wow, I think part of this is because I volunteered, and I showed that I cared about these people more than just what they could offer me. Like I actually like did something and contributed to this community. And it made me feel really good because it showed me like action does really go farther. So it's like, okay, how can I do more action for the people in my community? And the best way is to be part of that union, or to just like, or to say like, hey, I'm going to start a Discord or already be in a Discord, and then be like, okay, let's all have lunch. Like, let's all have lunch at my house, and I'll make us sandwiches, or let's all like do you guys like would you guys like to go like plan a day where we all go to Universal? Like, just kind of deciding like, okay, I'd like to find ways for us to naturally like do things together. And maybe Universal's obviously like too kind of like let's kind of like friendship marriage is going to Universal together, right? But I realized that making friends is also an art, you know, because like I when you're as independent as I am, you kind of like forget that like you forget like what they taught you in elementary school about making friends. You kind of just like, I don't know. I just kind of like did my own thing for a very, very, very long time. And like, I'm part of a group chat with people who I knew in high school, and I'd never post in it because I just don't know what to say. Because I feel like I've kind of grown out of like the conversations and the topics that they like to talk about. But I also haven't, because like if I was in the same room with them, I'd probably be talking up a storm. One of the reasons why I moved is because I knew that I was kind of different in the same room with someone versus like on the internet. You know, like, yeah, I don't know. I think I love the internet, but I also feel like it's one of the worst things that ever happened to humanity, because like now we have to figure out like internet relationships are very, very much not in-person human relationships. And there are people who like are really good at internet relationships, and it's all they need, and that's fantastic. But if you need more than that, if you really need to be in person, like you kind of feel like a weirdo, because it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think like I don't know. I think that's something that I relate to a lot in terms of like I grew up a lot on the internet before social media, but it was like definitely I was like hanging out in chat rooms a lot, like from a very young age, from like
Were you a
13, 14.
Neopetzer? Were you on Neopets?
No, so it's kind of funny because all of my friends who are like younger than me will talk about Neopets, and I'm like, oh, that I wish I could partake in this experience or like share memories, but I wasn't on these sites because I think one of the big reasons I was on the internet was because around that age I didn't speak English and I
Oh
was in the
wow.
US.
Wait, yeah, aren't you from
So,
France? Am I getting that wrong?
no, that's correct.
That's so cool.
And being online helped me like be social with other people who spoke French, but then we were on like very different time zones. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was it was like forums. It was the forums days, so it's very
The
like
forums days, Chio Island. If anybody, or Chow Island, sorry. If anybody likes Sonic shit and they're like, oh, Chow Island, and like other forums where you talk about Sonic shit, like those were definitely the days.
What made you want to try out indie animation?
Okay, no offense to any of the studios that I was working at before. Actually, I will say this. Primal Screen, I would work on really fun projects. And then when I went to Floyd, sometimes I would work on stuff that I wasn't like crazy about, but I was like, that's fine, I guess. Like I'll work on stuff that I'm not that crazy about. And then sometimes I'd work on stuff I was super crazy about. I really liked Smiling Friends. I really liked it. I thought it was really funny. I thought the pilot was really funny. And I thought to myself, man, like I'm around a lot of people that are like just Richard Williams like fanboys, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm okay with being a Richard Williams fangirl. But I think I like humor. I think I like humor a lot. And the showrunner for Stugo, I know his name is Ryan, but I think his last name is Gillis. He was talking about how when he was working on the Mickey Mouse shorts, he felt the same way. He was like, "Oh my God, like I thought I wanted to do big action sequences, but like I really like humor." And so he started storyboarding like, oh, that's them. It's frying my brain. That's so funny. Okay, sorry.
Dude, I love Ryan Gillis is one of the most talented animators I've ever met.
Oh my God.
Is so good. He was my director on Pickle and Peanut.
And Pickle and Peanut.
It's unfair how funny he is along with being how good he is
and he's
at drawing.
Kind. He's a kind person.
Yeah.
He's very kind, and like he talked to me a lot about boarding and how I was like, oh dude, I really want to start boarding comedy, because as an animator it's like I want the in-betweens to be perfect. I'm favoring the keys, like I'm gonna put the breakdown here, I'm a god, right? but then you're like boarding comedy and you're like, oh
Yeah.
damn, I don't know dick about
Is the
shit,
is
bro.
the joke working? I know it's fluid, but is the joke working?
Is the joke working? Like
how
am I
funny
funny?
is it? Yeah.
Holy fuck, am I funny? And you have a breakdown. You're like, what am I even? Like
It's two separate thought processes, and they can aid each other, but they're two different things to work on. And sometimes I think animation on some shows, like I feel like I could be surrounded by a full group of people who are amazing animators that aren't necessary. Funny isn't a requirement always.
Yeah, funny's
and
not
so
a requirement
sometimes
always.
finding funny animators is always like it's such like a treasure to me, because I feel like a kinship.
Yeah, so I really wanted to work on Smiling Friends because I really wanted to work on a project that I thought was really funny and kind of learn through working on that project what is funny, like what works, what doesn't work, like what kind of setups really work for humor. And like watching SpongeBob will teach you a lot about that too, like old SpongeBob. Like but yeah, like I also really wanted to, and I will say, working on Smiling Friends as an animator, it's not like, oh, do we have any more prompts, by the way, before I start?
They're all on the other page.
They're on the other page? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is just free. This is free. We're doing free draw now. Okay, working on it wasn't very exciting because they already had their timing like down. Like I'll go ahead and just like it was pretty much just like, you know, that's their breakdown, that's the key, and that's the key.
Yeah.
And then that's like the one in between. And sometimes they'll do another in between, you know? So, you know, you'll see that's the half and then that's the other half, right? Super like ease out, like very just simple, like moving suddenly and then easing, right? So like you couldn't really be that like creative with it. Like you could be creative with it. Like you could add some acting and things like that. But you know, it wasn't very exciting to work on, but it was very exciting to watch the animatics and see the decisions they made for humor's sake. So it was like a really fun learning process. And so like moving forward, working on shows that were really funny, Stugo, I loved to go to the like working on Stugo. It was really fun. Oh, look at this background. That's very pretty.
I'm drawing something on this background. Hold on.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
it looks like you're like bringing up Midnight Gospel right there.
Okay, hold on.
I was
gonna
draw Gleb as Clancy.
Hold on, let me move this out of your way. There you go. We're gonna move this smaller so I can use this as a reference.
Damn, we're all just using reference. This is
I love using reference. I think everyone should use reference. I think it's fun because then it's just like, okay, I'm like, you know, I'm learning from things, but I can also put my own little spin on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna draw Chip because I love Chip. I think he's my favorite character of the show. It used to be Francis, then it was Marion, and now it's Chip. But yeah, like working on that and watching the reads, which you had to be there in person to be able to do. You had to be in the studio, and you had to go in the studio, and people would walk by and say, "Hey, we're gonna do a read. Do you want to watch us do it?" And it's like, "Oh, sure." So they pitch, or a pitch, my bad. But they do a pitch where they show everyone, hey, this is what the storyboard's going to be, and they narrate it with their mouths, like with their voices, and it's cool to watch because it's like they can tell the inflection that they want, and you get the energy that they're going for by watching them read it like in front of people and them thumb through the boards and watching that, and you can see how they want the jokes to land and hit after they planned it out, you know, and they probably pitched it to themselves a little bit before bringing it to a group of people, and them doing that comfortably is so cool. And like it's kind of like you take it's like a whole nother level to making to telling stories and making art, and it's like, wow, boarding is like this shit's badass, you know. Like it's cool. So like I love animating. Like don't get me wrong. Like I love making stuff look beautiful and like giving it that like extra, cuz like there's nothing like it, you know. But making people laugh and it doesn't even have any in-betweens. That's so precious. Like that's so cool. Being able to bring joy to someone's face like that without even having to use any in-betweens is so neat. So they're both cool, you know. I feel like I'm rambling again. I feel like I'm geeking out.
No, I think that's great. I think it's really interesting that you're talking about the difference between animating and storyboarding. I personally have seen in my career a lot of animators who eventually graduate to boards, and I wonder, in your particular case, like, are you gravitating towards storyboarding so that you can create the keys, or are you interested in something even deeper than that?
So I'm actually going to be, I can talk about this. I'm actually going to be starting work soon that's going to be boarding related. And that's all I can say. But
Mm-hmm.
I was very flattered and honored that I was approached for that, you know? And
Nice.
that being like my first experience, you know, is really cool. And it's like I want to kind of go into it to see what do I want out of it. Like, do I want to be able to make the keys? Do I want to be able to, because I really love animating, and I'm going to want to just basically animate the boards, and I can't like do that, you know, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
right, like because that's a no.
Some people do.
That's a
Some
guilt.
people do.
Some people do. And
Yeah.
I respect what people be doing, but I know that's a guild no because it's like, you know, you don't want to be taken advantage of as a board artist, and I totally respect that. But I do want to like I think I want to kind of test the waters where it's like, okay, I want to think of some like funny head ass shit and then like see if I can make this character do it and see if it makes me laugh. And if it makes me laugh before it's even animated, I like it and I want to like push it and see how far I could push it.
Yeah.
So just being creative on a very like an imagination level, like sounds really fun. And then like I want to take that and like use that and apply it to like my own characters and my own stories and like things that like stuff that I want to tell. If I get to that point where I want to take that step, I'd like to be able to have the tools to do it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do
Yeah.
think that if as a board artist you can scratch that keyframing itch without getting abused or abusing yourself, you can still make your most important keyframe drawings that you would make as an animator. It's just you're not making it fluid, and you might miss making things really fluid, and
I
that
love
might
making
be
things
something.
fluid.
Yeah,
If I ever
get you.
if I was ever like a board artist on something, I'd have to be like, okay, so can I animate this later? Like, please, I'll be really sad if I can't.
Listen, sometimes depending on the show, sometimes they'll let you.
Yeah.
I've seen
Mhm.
it happen. So
Also, like a previous guest on the show, Adam Parton, I forget the number of the episode, but he usually will either like be doing boards or directing and eventually like move to like animation retakes on the same show because he's like a really skilled
Yeah.
animator. Yeah. So I think that's the thing like you were saying, where like it's like you talk to people on the production, you talk to all the different like the land producer or like production coordinator and all that, and like if you make it heard that that's something that you're interested in later down the line,
Yeah.
it can be in the realms of the
you know what?
possibilities.
It's something that you hear about actually more at New York studios because
Oh, I've heard that.
because you'll have people that there are fewer job opportunities, so artists really diversify,
Yeah.
and they'll be on a production, and then after they're done boarding, they'll be like, hey, I'd love to animate on this too, can I stay on for longer? And it's possible that you might have to take an animation test maybe, but it's the kind of thing where, I mean, it's not unheard of, and I've done that. I've done it on especially on smaller scrappy projects where it's like a commercial. Like I worked on a commercial for Clash of Clans or Clash Royale or whatever, that phone game, and I boarded on it, and then I went right on to, I designed a little bit on it, and then I went on to animation, and like it was just the roles ended up being kind of fluid, and it was a non-union project, so that kind of flexibility ends up happening a little bit more there, whether people like it or not, but it is done. If you want that.
Yeah. We have a lot of questions from our listeners, which is super exciting. Let's get into some of those.
I would love to answer some of these.
From our patron, Mallard, what do you usually do in between jobs? Like, is that something that you often have like times of like downtime between jobs? Like, how did you fill that up?
Oh, so I'm actually in between jobs right now. So the downtime that I'm doing right now, honestly, I do a lot of like, I work a lot and I feel like I don't really take care of myself like I should. So a lot of in between job stuff is like, okay, I need to kind of get my shit together when it comes to just taking care of myself. So in between job stuff, I'll check on like, what's my diet like? Am I like, what's my relationship like with my partner? Like, am I calling my mom enough? Like, I kind of just like, what's my money situation like? Am I making sure that I'm organizing my finances properly? Like, I actually just hired a personal trainer because I gained a lot of weight. And like it's okay if you're like not perfect while you're, you know, while you're working. It's okay if like you have to kind of like if you're staying up late and drinking Monster and you know all that. Like it's okay. So in between those times I kind of use them as like I don't draw a lot, if like not that much at all. Like I give myself some time to reset. I give myself some time. I spend a lot of time with my puppy because I want to make sure I have a good relationship with him.
What's your puppy's name?
My puppy's name is Big Michael, and after I draw this fat Alan, I'm gonna draw Big Michael. Yes.
That's name. So cute.
I love Big Michael. I will say his name was going to be Little Michael, but my friend Benjamin Brownstein, who's D&D, he DMs for D&D a lot. And so he was like, you know what? I have a character recommendation. Instead of Little Michael, I think his name should be Big Michael. And I was like, that is amazing. You plussed my dog's name. So, like, instead of Little Michael, it's now Big Michael. And I knew the name before I found the dog. And when I finally found him, I was like, yes, like, you are absolutely a Big Michael. So he's a brindle pug. And he's like, he's literally my everything. He's my son. He's my little boy. But yeah, like, when I'm in between jobs, I just what's the word? I damage control. It's like, okay, are you making sure that you're, like, taking care of yourself? Like, you need to check in on like your health. You need to go see a doctor. Make sure you get your blood drawn. Like, just, you know, like, make sure you're and obviously if it's been like a year since I've done those things, then I'll just make time to do those things while I'm working. But a lot of like checking in with myself mentally and then like physically and emotionally, making sure I'm okay. I do that a lot in between jobs.
Oh, that's great. That's a great answer. Our patron Money Bean is asking, was rigging something you learned on the job in school, or was it something you were already doing prior? Do you rig?
Oh yeah. Oh god. Okay. I just liked it at college, so I just started doing it a lot. And I there's this goofy little student film I made called Namaste with Me, and it's basically up but yoga. And I had a difficult time making a 360 rig, but I was comfortable making rigs that fit the shot. So for my film, I just made a big handful of rigs, and my friend Johara helped me make them as well. Like, she helped me a lot. So my friend Johara, she does rig. And while we went to college together, she helped me with a lot of those rigs. And we made a lot of rigs to fit the scenes that we needed them to fit. And I just liked it. I just really liked doing it. In fact, I almost did 3D rigging. I almost became like a 3D rigger, but then I was like, no, I like animating too much. I'm too Richard pilled. Like, I can't stop. So yeah.
You're Richard Maxing, but
I'm Richard Maxing. Yes, I'm Richard Maxing. I can't wait to tell my friends that. That's fucking great. Yes, dude. I'm so like
Twitch is keeping me young.
Yes, I'm so Animator Survivor Guide pilled, dude, or Survivor or whatever. But yeah, I know how to rig. It's funny. I have made rigs for Flash things professionally, but I've never done rigging for Toon Boom professionally. I only use that knowledge to help me on other projects. Like when I was working on Little Demon for Shadow Machine, my rigging knowledge really helped me fix issues and problems that came up while working on the show. Same with what the hell is it called? America the Motion Picture, the movie that I worked on with Floyd County.
Yeah, dude. Those shots that you have in your demo reel, by the way, everybody like listening to the video, if you haven't seen Margot's demo reel, definitely check it out. Like those shots for the America the Motion Picture, they're like bananas.
They were fun. Like that, and I really owe the people who hired me, like that movie really kickstarted my career. Like, I remember I was talking to Melissa Graziano, and she was like, yeah, one of the reasons I hired you was because you had worked on that film. And so I knew that you had the skills that we really needed you to have. And I could trust that you could handle whatever it is that we threw at you. So the people at Floyd County that hired me on that movie and took a chance on me, they were incredibly like kind and like, you know, like I had like a letter of recommendation, but even still, like they could have just not gone with me, you know? So I'm definitely very grateful that they gave me that chance. And a lot of those shots too, I think only one or two of those shots I actually worked on with another person. So the 360 shot of George Washington, I actually worked on that shot with Brian Salter when we were working at Floyd together. So like those shots, a lot of those shots, like they're really great money shots to put on my reel and get me jobs, but they're also like they're not things I did completely by myself. Like Brandon Berger was our technical director, and he was the whole person behind those rigs and making them as great as they are. Like I worked with a lot of people, and like they really, you know, made that movie what it was. So like being able to be a part of that, like I showcase it to show like I know how this rig works. I know how to pilot this rig. I know how to animate it. But it's really difficult to show people, especially people who aren't as familiar with the industry. It's hard to show them like, oh, like this isn't just you. Like this is you and a team, you know?
Yeah. Also, I really like that you use the word piloting a rig like you're an Ava, like it's an Ava.
You like it's an Ava, yeah. Like I'm in the Ava water, like
I'm in a Gundam
around.
right now.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's how it feels, though. Cool. It feels
honestly,
like that.
I totally understand that, because I feel like I've seen like videos of like animators, or like especially around the time of like Motor City, and I wonder if it was Jeremy Polgar or someone like that who like made, or if it was Titmouse who kind of like had some behind the scenes or whatever and showing kind of like how the rigs work. And I'm like,
I mean, they invented a whole new rigging system for like it was like a special coding that added on to, it was like a plugin that they made for
that's so cool.
Adobe Animate that they made that basically made a head rig that you could look from 360.
That reminds me of that reminds me of EDAP tools. I don't know if you're familiar with EDAP tools, but like
I'm not.
Anybody who's a Flash animator, I want you to go to edaptools.com right now and like hold on. Yeah, so it's flashpowertools.com, but EDAP tools. If you want to be a big fucking nerd like me, go to this website, and if you want to make Flash like bomb like Harmony, go here and
Oh, I've seen a few of these. Okay.
Rock,
I think
dude.
I've seen a few of these. I didn't know that they were from this particular website, but I've seen people use a few of these on productions that have been. Okay.
These rock, and they're available to anybody. Like you don't have to be some hot shot, I got a job. Like you don't got to be like that. Like you can just put these on and like use them to make a film or use them to make things easier. One I really like is the find and replace, where it refines the find and replace. You can find and replace lines, and you can find and replace things that you know, like you can rename assets if you want. You can, you know, replace colors and line weights and things like that. And then they also just have like a thing where they make your rig feel a little more like Harmony like. That's actually great. Oh my god, I just saw the butt yoga. That's my film. That's actually my film.
This is your film.
Oh my god, that's so great. I'm gonna draw Michael in this corner. That's so fun. Yeah. I love you guys. This is so great. This is so cute. Yeah. What was I gonna say? I was over here. I got distracted. I don't know. Y'all know what I was talking about.
You get distracted by the drawings. No, I get it though.
We get distracted also by like talking about rigs. I thought that was really interesting. No, and I was like, we were talking about like how it was like piloting. Right, I'm not gonna be able to say it.
Piloting
a mecha, and it's like, and I was like, yeah, watching these videos, I'm like, for me, it's like too many buttons. I don't. My brain is too small. I can only just do.
My brain
drawing.
Is too small. It's not as small as you think, dude. Because like I literally I read it like a middle school like reading level. Like I am so bad at like words, but I'm like math brain to fuck. Like I don't know what happened to me. So it's like, you know, like like I have a difficult time spelling restaurant. Like right, but then I like. You know,
but I can calculate restaurant.
I can calculate. Yeah, sure, right? Like I can find the circumference of a restaurant.
Restaurant math.
But it's like,
what's your favorite rig that you've ever piloted?
Oh god, don't ask me that, because then I'm gonna be here all day.
It's just one. I just want one.
My favorite rig is the Scudworth rig that I used on Clone High, because.
Oh, you worked on Clone High too?
Yeah, I did.
I was a board artist on Clone High.
Oh my god, were you really? Oh, so that means we missed each other, because I was on the tail and I was on post. I was on the retake team.
Well, I mean, it's possible you might have worked on stuff aborted. Who knows?
Like I probably.
So we sort of didn't miss each other, maybe.
Yeah. Oh my god. Dude.
Wait, were you boarding? Were you boarding or were you animating?
No. I was a retake. I was a retake animator. So I was all in post production, because I was at Shadow Machine working on Praise PD, and then that let out, and then I think it was Praise PD, and then it let out, and then I worked on Clone High, and then I think I came back on Praise PD. I think I'm trying to remember how that went. Anyway, Yeah, something like
Did
that.
you ever touch the scene where the teacher tries to sleep with Abe?
Oh my god, I can't believe they let that go, dude. I can't believe that.
I boarded that the whole teacher trying to sleep with Abe.
Ah, that was
Yeah.
crazy, dude.
Yeah,
and then
it was a
she
little nuts.
fucking dies. That was
Yep.
wild.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Sorry, guys.
No.
That was crazy. No, but I got to work on I got to work at the episode where Scudworth is trying to get Joan and JFK back together.
Yeah.
And I helped out a lot, like animating him with his like Kenny G like pepperoni nipple costume.
That's funny.
Yo, it was so fun. But his rig is so fascinating because he has a big fucking mouth, right? And he has big teeth. So like his rig is like a beautiful like love letter to just 2D design because like you can't make like a 360 of that guy because Scudworth just looks impossible, right? So how do you make someone who looks like that into a rig? There's a lot of cutters, a lot of things that go over themselves, but it's also intuitive and it works. And so God, like I wish I still, I know I'm not legally allowed to, but I wish I still had it. Like
Sure.
It was very well made. So whoever made the Scudworth wig for the Clone High revival, you rock. And you're great, and you're one of my bridesmaids now.
The design on that show is so particular. I could imagine making a rig was very hard. That there's like every pose you have to get like super hyper analyzed by a very specific design team, and like there's like they're very particular because they're very design oriented. Like on some shows it's like, okay, like does this character look like 3D? We're making sure that the lines are okay, but that show is very shape based and very particular and designy.
Yeah,
like designy, you know.
Yeah, and like they had a really great design team as well. Like the people, oh my god, I'm really bad with names. The person who co-ran Long Gone Gulch, I think her name is Tara.
It's Tara. Yeah, Tara. Yeah.
Tara, dude, Tara was great, and then I think my friend Kat also worked on it as well. I think so. Yeah, I think my friend Kat also worked on it. A lot of people like in my circle worked on it. Like they're so cool. But like the people who were making the rigs had a lot of fantastic designers who really knew what they were doing and also knew how to keep things really good for the pipeline. Like they knew how to work well with others. So like I think it really made it to where building the rigs was achievable because they worked with such like easy to work with people. So I think that helped a lot. This is Big Michael. This is my pug.
Ah, he's so cute.
Yeah, he's my little boy.
Look at this little guy.
My little fella. He's just a little fella. And then I gotta color him in. He's like brindle pattern, so I don't know how we're gonna do that. But we're figured out.
Our patron Crass is asking, what's it like being a retake animator? I know this is kind of broad, but maybe like, can you give us maybe like a typical day or like a typical
the typical day you start, you get the email saying that you're ready to start, and you look and your contract is only 2 weeks long. And I'm playing. No, but I will say retake contracts have been getting like kind of shorter and shorter. I don't know if that's because it's just post strikes and everyone's trying to get back into the groove, or if that's just like the retake is like tripping a little bit. But I think it's just post strikes because people are starting to get work again. So being a retake animator is kind of like being an artist, but also being a mechanic at the same time. So when you're a retake animator, knowing the software is just as important as being able to draw and perform. So you kind of like, you're going to get stuff, like you might get something from an overseas studio, and let's say the person who made that shot didn't know how Toon Boom works, and they just kind of like threw whatever stuck at the wall and then turned in their shot.
Oh no, and then you have to like undo their mess.
And then you have to undo the mess. Yeah. And so you have to know how to repair that without taking too long, but also while still like, you know, while still making it look good enough to hit television. So if you want to be a retake animator, like the 3 things that you have to have is, 1, you have to have an eye for quality. Like you have to be able to have an eye for things that are able to be on TV, because you're the last people to touch it before it goes to TV, or you're the last people to touch it before it goes to the comp department, because not everybody in the comp department knows how to use Toon Boom. So you might be the last person who can even open the shot before it gets sent to the people who put it on TV. So you have to have a really good eye for quality. You also have to know how the software works. So 2 is knowing how the software works, understanding what a node view is, understanding like the issues that can happen in Toon Boom. And that can just come with experience. Like you don't have to be a complete wizard, but you're going to be really overwhelmed if you expect it to be easy. And then you come in and then you're like, oh shit, this helicopter has over 1,000 vector points and that's why it's not working. Like I'm going to have to simplify this asset in order for it to like load properly so I can actually like get to like the next step of my assignment. You know what I mean? Or why is this like this effect isn't working? What is this node doing? Oh, there's like a node called matte resize that fixes a lot of issues when layering like when transparency shit doesn't look good in the render view. You can use the matte resize node to kind of like fudge some stuff, right? And then like you also have to like there will be some issues that you'll come in contact with and you'll have to learn from the person who made the shot how they chose to resolve the issue. And, oh, they did it this way. Okay, so if I want to fix it, I'm going to have to do it this way to kind of like, you know, make it work for the team moving forward. And you have to kind of respect how other people do their shit. You can't be like, oh, I can't believe this person gave me a shot. That's bullshit. And they didn't know, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, well, you don't know where they were, all right. You
can't redo the shot completely.
Yeah,
like,
well, sometimes you can. Sometimes they'll let you, like, they let me do on Stugo. They let me just reanimate some stuff from scratch. And it made me very happy because it tickled my little animator brain. But you can't, like, judge the shit you get because people don't like that. They don't like seeing you be all pissy about it. Oh, they left. Can you believe that I got a shot with such and such in it? Yeah. What a loser. It's like people don't like that. Like I've had producers be like, "Oh, this person's really mean. I don't like that." You know, like what do you want to do? What are you willing to do? I like that I can work in the US because I also can like do boarding if I want to do it. I can also do design if I want to do it. I can remotely work like for indie studios if I want to do that while like alongside studio work. And then plus I live in LA County, so I get the health insurance. So that was the poison I was happy with picking, you know, like the poison being like, there's not a lot of animation jobs. So if you're going to do retake, you better be hella good at it, you know, which is, it's hard, you know, it's fucking hard out here. But yeah, so that's what a retake animator is like. You're like a mechanic, but you're also like you're an artist and a mechanic at the same time.
I think that's an awesome answer, and I think it really kind of like clears up a lot of like the blurry, I guess, idea of what a retake animator could be. You know?
Yeah.
It's like you're a mechanic that gets to drive the race cars sometimes too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really great way to put it. You're a mechanic that also gets to drive the cars that you help build sometimes if they'll let you, you know.
We have a question that I really like, which is from Finney __ on Instagram. Do you prefer animating rigged character or frame by frame? Also, do you prefer roughs or cleans? Oh. And what do you think are the best parts of each?
I fucking hate cleanup. I don't ever want to do cleanup again. You gotta do it, but I hate it. I hate doing cleanup. I hate cleanup. But I will say, it used to be rigs. I used to really prefer animating rigs because it's all done for you and you can just see it and it's beautiful and it's done. But ever since I started working on more shows that ask for traditional, and then ever since I started doing work for Meat Canyon, I adore rough animation again. Shout out to Papa Meat. Hunter's great.
He's such a cool guy.
He's very sweet.
Yeah, he's so nice.
All right, Meat Canyon. Make sure you check out Meat Canyon, episode 69. Haha, nice.
LOL. Oh my god. Episode 69. I'll have to watch it. I actually haven't watched that one yet.
I don't know. He's just so smart, I think.
Yeah, he's pretty smart.
And so you've done like more and more traditional, or I guess like, how would you say
like
it?
Frame by frame, I guess.
Frame by frame. Yeah. It's funny because I was wondering about that too, because Margo helped on our Adult Swim Smalls.
I did.
Hey, it came out so good.
It's amazing.
By the way, on episode 3, I was looking, and some of the scenes that you animated are the most watched scenes because
are you serious?
Because it's the sexy scenes.
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy.
Margo, do you know who did the voice of the sexy man?
Was it you?
Yes.
Because I hear it a little bit. I hear it a little bit. Yeah. Oh my
I'm
God.
happening. Look at me. I'm happening to you.
When he,
I love
when,
that you barely disguise your voice, by the
No,
way.
yeah, it's not even that disguise. It's just my voice, but like,
him being
Yeah.
emotional too is so great. He'd be like, "Oh, it's just like you're just treated like a piece of meat." It's like, that's right, baby. That's right. That's right. You know,
You cry it out if you need
you
to.
cry it
baby.
out. It's okay if you're not okay. You know.
Yeah, these drawings are great, dude. Yeah, these drawings were awesome.
That was very fun. That was a very fun project to work on. Yeah, it's been getting me into frame by frame, even more so. So it's like, you know what? Like I should do that more often. So I try to do that when I can. Like I try to do frame by frame like projects like when I'm able to. I try to hop on Meat Canyon stuff. Like I was able to hop on something recently. So I'm very excited for that. I just finished that up. Yeah, like and I try to offer to do frame by frame stuff for retake things when I'm able to. So it's, let's say for example, like I was working on a shot, like I don't know, for a show, and like, you know, there's a character that's doing something that's really complicated. Instead of trying to use the rig, I'll be like, "Hey, do you guys let me just do traditional?" And they'd be like, "Oh, well, how soon can you get it done?" And I'll be like, "Well, I will say it will definitely take me longer than a week." And then they look at their timeline, they go, "Yeah, you know what? That's fine. We have the time for that." And then, you know, like trying to, like asking to do that, like more and more is like totally fine. Like studios will let you do that for retake if they have the time to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Especially like redrawing stuff too is like also great. Like don't just like depend on the rig for everything. Like you're gonna have to redraw some stuff, and that's
Yeah.
totally, you know.
I think I prefer kind of a hybrid method where it's almost like you're tricking the person into not knowing that there is a rig. Like you use the rig and then you're like, "Oh, but that's an individual drawing, I can tell." And I my favorite I think is the hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid is, yeah, I totally agree. Like, cause I adore rigs, like I love them, but I'm kind of in my I'm kind of in my Richard era right now. I'm in my little like animator girl era where I do want to do more traditional. I kind of want to see how far I can take it. Like, how far can I animate traditionally? Like, what can I do? Like, what is my limit here? You know,
Margo's becoming too powerful.
I'm becoming
We have to stop her.
too powerful, dude. But yeah, oh god, and I wish I had time to do more projects. I'm actually working on a project right now with a bunch of artists where I'm like the producer, I guess, for it. But like I have some shots that I'm working on, of course. But I don't know if you guys ever heard of the show called Whatever Happened to Robot Jones.
Yes.
I love that fucking show. And so like I already bothered Greg Miller on Facebook, and I'm like, "Hey, I really want to make a reanimated of your pilot. Is that okay?" And he was cool with it. He's like, "Yeah, fucking go for it." So, Greg Miller knows, and he's been posting more on Twitter, and he's been very like tickled that we've been doing this, which I'm very relieved to see. Because if he didn't want us to do it, I would probably stop. I'd be like, "Okay, everybody, shut it down." Greg Miller doesn't
I
want us
mean,
doing it.
if you look at it at a certain perspective, it's like, oh, a bunch of animators are drawing my thing for free on their own.
Cringe.
Like you're kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to not want it.
I feel like someone like Ken Penders wouldn't want that. Like he would probably be like, "Well, hold on, like you need to make sure that I'm directing this," and he would probably go in and try and take over the whole thing. But I think Greg Miller started going online more. I think Maxwell Adams and then Patrick. God, how do you say his last name? K&D creator Patrick, Mr. Warburton. Yes. Is his name even Patrick, or am I thinking of that other celebrity? I don't know. Mr. Warburton and Maxwell Adams, I saw, are friends with Greg Miller online, and they were like, "Hey man, you should post your stuff online." And Greg was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then he started doing it, and he's been getting a lot of really positive reception, especially him posting a lot of the music from the show. And I think it was the last traditionally animated like Hanna-Barbera show. I think I remember seeing that somewhere, that little factoid somewhere. And it's just really cool. It's just a really cool piece of history. I feel like it's a really cool show, really cool piece of history. So we're reanimating it, and like it's really cool, like seeing people come together. And this is like an all ages project, like to the point where if you're a minor, you have to have like a permission slip from a guardian. So I know that if you're online, you have somebody just looking after you and making sure that you're okay. and making sure that you're not like just, you know, like getting involved in things without having some supervision to make sure that you're safe. And my friend Zoe from Australia that I worked with on Smiling Friends, Zoe Johnson. I worked with her on season 1 of Smiling Friends, and she helped me start the Reanimated. And she was like, get a permission slip so the younger people are safe. So like they just like sign it. So like a guardian, we just know that a guardian is looking after them and making sure that they're monitoring their online presence. So, and then also if they're too young to use Discord, then they can't use the Discord, like if they're less than 13. But we had this little boy, he's like 9, and his parents emailed for him like, he's so excited to work on this project with you. And his shot is so fucking cute. It's like it looks like it's done in Microsoft Paint. It looks like the parents put it in like media player for him and sent it, and it's the sweetest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Cute.
Yes,
that is so cute. Oh my god,
it's so cute. It's the sweetest thing I've ever seen. So like it's really cool. Like projects like that let me animate traditionally, but I'm also blessed to work with people who want to do it for free and come together and make something. So it's like it's all ages, all skill level. Like, you know, I don't feel like I have the right to ask anybody like, you have to have this much experience to work with me. Like, fuck no. Like, that's bullshit. Like, you then go get paid. They like, don't do that then go get paid, right?
Yeah.
But it's really cool and fun. Like, just like doing those kinds of things on the side kind of keep me doing animation, you know? And it's like, if let's say like I'm at work, I have to like, you know, let's say I'm doing the Rocko's Modern Life thing where it's like, move this eyelash for 100 shots, you know, like sometimes you don't get to animate. And so like, instead of, you know, like doing that and then coming home and being kind of stale and not really knowing what to animate or what to draw, like projects like that really help kind of like keep things like inspiring and fun, you know?
Is that something that happened on Rocko's Modern Life?
Yeah. So Rocko is okay. What's Rocko's job? Because I know that he worked Rocko's Modern Life.
Oh, okay. You're referencing his job. I thought you meant something that was something that happened on the production, like there was some production story. Oh, yeah, I got you. Okay.
He was a Super A Lot Comics. So he's fired from his the episode called Candies. He's fired from his job at Super A Lot Comics, and Mr. Big Head is his fucking boss. And I don't know if this is the episode exactly, but on one of the episodes they're like how many like something like how many whiskers does he have? 4, and how many do you see? 3. And so like they lock Rocko in a room, and he's got to like draw another whisker on every single cover of the comic. And sometimes Retake is like that, dude. Sometimes it's like, this character needs eyelashes for 300 scenes, and it's like, fuck, all right, let's get this bag. I'm making 54 an hour, like, you know.
So funny. That's a great answer. I love like kind of like hearing all that like nitty gritty about all the animation backstage of animation.
The backstage be crazy, dude.
We have a lot of questions about Smiling Friends, so I'm going to try to cherry pick a couple. At Madison7 on Twitter asked, what was the most interesting or strangely challenging thing to work on while on Smiling Friends?
The most challenging thing was drawing the characters on model. It took me a long time to get to a point where I could. And like, I was really slow because of it. So I was really insecure because I was super slow. And a lot of the animators were storyboard artists, so they've had like months to practice the characters. And something like Zach and Michael really wanted it to be traditional. And so like when I was on season 2, I had to learn how to draw the characters well enough to where so my roughs were on model. And like, I'm just like drawing them from memory, but already this is better than like before, like what I'm drawing right now. This is better than like what I was doing before, you know, like before I'd even like got on the show. Like my brain can tell me, okay, so you're drawing Charlie. So keep in mind.
I'm trying to imagine what your drawings were like before.
Oh my god, yeah, before they were like that, dude. Like Charlie looked like old Greg. Like it was not the same. Yeah, like I have to like, I'll remember that here it is, it's Charlie. Like, don't you remember? Like it's him. Like I think I have to remember how this goes right here. I think it was like this, and I think it was like that. This is just off memory, right? But I would have some stuff like out next to me. Like I would have a picture of Charlie next to me when I would work on like roughing animation for him, or I'd have a picture up on another monitor of like Charlie or Pim. And sometimes I would have like the flash build in there just to trace it and then move it. Sometimes I would just move it around for really subtle stuff. But like most of the time it was like drawing them on model to where I felt comfortable enough animating them. And like that was really hard because you can't really fake that. You have to learn how to draw them well, and then learn how their hands work too, because like Pim's hands and Charlie's hands are very different. So getting their hands right was a challenge within itself, you know? Like Charlie's hand looks like the top of a pineapple, but Pim's hands are very much like baby's hands, you know, and they're chubby, like cherubs.
For people that might not understand, because they look, compared to a lot of characters, they look fairly simple. Can you talk about why it's deceivingly difficult?
It's deceivingly difficult because you're trying to emulate another person's art style. And so like this Charlie I drew from memory would not have been good enough. Like this guy right here. It's like, oh, well, he's fine. What do you mean? Like, well, the cleanup team needed like on model roughs so they could get it done quickly. And because like there was a lot to clean up.
So they're not correcting at the same time.
Yes, they're not correcting at the same time. They needed really strong rough animators that could communicate the movement and get the arcs and the breakdowns right, while also and like luckily it didn't move like incredibly crazy, but they needed really strong animators that could get the timing chart working. You know, the one I like right here, this guy. That could get the timing right, you know, and the spacing proper, and like not have like pops and not have weird things, make the acting believable. Like, would these characters act this way? Would they move like this? Is this like a normal thing they would do? Because sometimes we would get the boards that were just comics, and then we'd have to like the Bruce Timm boards. Like, I think, am I remembering him right? The Bruce Timm Batman. Like, where, like, if you ever go to the Warner Brother tour and you see those boards, they're just comic strips. Like, the animators had to come up with the acting
really
for that.
Clean.
Sometimes we would get those where it's like, okay, so you have to come up with the mannerisms for them to act. You have to come up with. There's a great scene. It's a perfect example where Charlie and Pim are talking to the president, and they say, "No, man, not at all. Like, you shit your pants and caused I don't know, some bullshit in the same day. What are you talking about, dude?" And then the president looks over, and Pim's like, "Listen, if you can just do this one foreign policy plan, then maybe everything will be fine." The whole acting of Charlie's hands coming up and them coming down and his eyes bugging out, and then Pim also like, if you can just do this one foreign policy, he puts his arms down and things like that. Most of that, I can't quite remember what the boards had, but most of that was acting I had to put in. So imagine doing that while also keeping in this timing chart, while also keeping them on model, is a lot to juggle. So it took a while, because like I didn't have a period of time where I practiced drawing the characters before I was thrown onto shots. And it's okay. Like sometimes, like, you know, like it's not like I was doing anything like Glenn Keane designed, right? Like I didn't have to have that period of time that most Disney animators would have, like on Lilo and Stitch and Beauty and the Beast, where they would take time to draw the characters and get comfortable enough with them where they can draw them pretty well from memory, to where they can just start focusing on only moving them around. Getting to that point, it took me a couple months to get to that point where I could really emulate their art style from my mind, to where I could actually just only really have to focus on moving them around, you know. And it took a while. And then also, if you don't do it for a while, you lose it. Like I tried drawing like Pim the other day, and I was like, damn, I forgot how to draw this motherfucker. Like, I don't remember it all.
It's crazy. That happens so fast. Like sometimes we get like prompts or like Loud House prompts or whatever. Yeah. And I was on that show for 3 years, and I can't even remember how to draw any of these characters.
Right. It's like you lose a language from not speaking it for a while, you know?
Yeah.
Like your brain only has room for like 20 things, 20 model sheets.
Yeah, my brain only has room.
You can hold at one time.
My brain only has room for the latest thing. Like, I forget what I had for breakfast half the time. Like, it's like a Family Guy episode. You're at the end of the episode and you don't remember how the fuck it started. Like, that's absolutely like project to project. I throw my whole brain into the current project, and then I forget what the fuck I worked on last year. And because you guys will bring up Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur, and I'll be like, I don't remember. Like, that was before I moved to LA. Like, hold on.
Yeah, try just try to draw your breakfast sandwich on model right now.
Oh my god.
On model.
Yeah, your breakfast sandwich on model. Oh my god.
That is so funny. Let's see.
Oh yeah, more questions.
Yeah, we have more questions. Unfortunately, we are kind of like probably not going to be able to get to all of them.
I'm sorry, guys. I talked too
Don't
long.
apologize. That's your job on this podcast.
Exactly. And you covered so much great stuff. We have this question from YouTube at Goldfish Crickets. Ask, what's the most different thing about working in a studio versus indie?
So the most different thing about studio versus indie is that there's a different culture, and that's okay. There's a different culture you're kind of working with, so there's a different way to solve problems. So let's say, for example, in a union studio, and also there's another category of non-union studio, so there's that too. So when you're working at a union studio, you can just go like straight to HR and be like, hey, I don't think I got paid the proper amount, right? And then you can talk to them. There's a whole process for that. If they don't like resolve that issue the way that you feel like they were supposed to resolve it, you can talk to the guild. And the guild has a whole committee that will just go like in your stead and talk to them and say, hey, this person didn't get the proper amount of severance pay. Can we talk about this problem? And they'll fight for you, and they'll look into the issue for you. And it's really great. And that's why I recommend working with the union above all else. Now, if you have a studio, for example, that's non-union, that gets a little dicier. So it's like, okay, so I have to talk to this person about, I'm going to use the example of not getting paid on time, right? So I'm using the example of not getting paid on time. The best thing you can do is talk to the person who is your higher up, and that higher up will usually tell you, oh yeah, this person handles the payment. If they say, oh, I don't know who handles the payment, then you just have to, whatever email that you use to get the job, you talk to them. You just have to keep talking to people until you get the issue straightened out, and you have to remain as like chill and as like professional as possible, because many times a lot of non-union studios don't mean to like, fuck you over. Like a lot of times things just get really like lost in the crossfire. Like very few times are they like, meh, I can't wait to exploit these people for free. Like many times they're not actually like that,
Mm-hmm. Like, oh no, I'm accidentally exploiting all these people for free.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're not actually like that. Like very few people are actually like that, And then the last tier is just indie. So a lot of it is like, if you don't make your own contracts, because a lot of people, a lot of artists and freelancers will make their own contracts, and like some indie creators don't really like mess with all that. It's kind of just like a I trust you, you trust me kind of thing. Many times, like if you get into these issues where like you're not like, you don't feel like you're being given enough time, or you don't feel like you're being paid properly or being paid on time, or if things are weird, the best thing you can do is just communicate with them or just not work with them. Because if you like make it a big deal online, that's gonna bite you in the ass. It's gonna bite them in the ass. It's gonna bite everyone in the ass. If you talk about it
publicly or something.
If you make a really big stink about it, like before, because like what do you do? Like how do you hold those people accountable? Let's just immediately go on Twitter and start canning folks. Don't do that. Like unless it's something that is very horrendous and genuinely like bad, you're not the only person who's dealt with that. Like I've worked for people who I've talked to other people about it, and they're like, oh yeah, I wouldn't work for them again. Like they didn't treat me with respect. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Like I've had a negative experience as well. Like everyone knows. So it's like, it's not your fault if you get caught up with like, like an indie project or a studio that is non-union and you feel like you got tricked or scammed. It's okay. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. And sometimes it's not entirely like someone trying to be malicious and take advantage of you. So it's a completely different culture. There's like because on one hand, when you're working in the union, like the worst that can happen is someone just gets a slap on the wrist and everyone understands that we all need to do better moving forward. But when you're like, the more indie you go, the more that you could like completely fuck up somebody's life by spreading a rumor that isn't true or that wasn't totally like thought out. Like, you know what I mean? So like I know people whose entire Patreons, which is what they live off of, have just been completely dissolved because of something that came out that wasn't actually true, or that was true, or people just misconstrued it. Like, look at like this might be a very good example, but like, when iDubbbz's wife came out as having an OnlyFans, his fan base like abandoned him. Like they were very much not okay with that, even though his wife can do whatever she wants. So like, you're dealing with people who have a relationship with an outside world, and that relationship kind of decides whether or not they pay their rent. Like, so
wow,
it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. And
that is so crazy. And it's so interesting that you bring that up, because it is like, I feel especially It's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine about like, you know, as people who work in the industry, we've all had the thought of like, oh, I wish I could make something like the digital circus or like or that I could be like entirely YouTube and online and just do whatever I want and make money from that. But then, you know, like you said, like the audience or like the fans can turn on you anytime, and that means that you can lose your whole
Yeah.
livelihood.
You're very
Like,
much a slave to the people who made you famous. Like you, like the followers
yeah.
and whatnot. You're very much at the mercy of them liking you and still liking you
Mhm.
and staying relevant. Like, people say like, oh, he fell off, or crap like that. Like
Yeah.
you're very much at the mercy of other
Yeah.
people. So I try not to judge too heavily if I'm working with like an indie creator and things aren't going the way that I would like them to go. I kind of like take a step back and go, okay, either I'm willing to work for this person again and I'm willing to ride out these bumps, or I'm not willing to work for this person again and I'll just politely let myself out the back door. Like it's like, okay, like thank you for and even some people who I don't really feel comfortable like working with in the first place, it's like, well,
Yeah.
I really appreciate the offer, but I don't think I don't think this is actually an opportunity I want to take, but thank you for, like
Hmm.
you gotta keep in mind that like it's a different world out there, dude. It's very much like a Wild West kind of thing, and they're brave enough to like they're brave enough to make that the entirety of how they get paid, and I'm not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like I'm not,
Yeah.
dude. Like I need the
I
union. I
I
need health
feel like
insurance, bro.
internet creators and animators are held to more scrutiny than our government.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
Like in a weird
What the
way.
hell? That's
Be-
part of my new stand-up set. That's part of my type 5. I'm gonna talk about.
In a weird I know, right? It's just like they're the most
Yeah.
marginalized grid. But really, I mean, I've worked on productions like I've worked on like small projects. I've worked on, I say productions. I mean, they're a production, but I've worked on like small like indie projects before where like people felt uncomfortable because they didn't feel like they were being compensated, but they were afraid to say something because the people are their friends, or let's say like
Uh-huh.
they say something and it gets taken out of context and people are really scared of like drama, so then the people who work with them on outside projects don't want to work with them anymore because like, oh, like I heard that you start drama, and it's like, no, no, I wasn't mad, I just wanted to ask about whether or not this part of our contract or this part of our agreement was going to be ironed out. Like, and it's really easy for people to be afraid because if everything is decided by like everything around you, that's got to be scary. Like that's got to be scary and that's got to be hard. And like you know what I mean? Like the best thing you can do is, if you're working on an indie project and you don't like how it's going, the best thing you can do is just politely excuse yourself because you're not the only person who's done it. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
you'll find someone else who had the same experience as you, which has happened so many times. I would go to a drink and draw and I would talk to someone and say, "Yeah, I finished working on this and I didn't really have the best time." And they go, "Oh my god, me too. I was afraid to say anything." And it's like, "Well, first of all, don't be afraid." Like, you know what I mean? It's okay. It's don't be afraid, but also thank you for sharing because now I don't feel alone in my experience. And
Hmm.
and that doesn't, and that's not like a death sentence either, because a lot of projects may start out rough and get better, and some projects may start out great and then get rough, like, and like kind of like they kind of get the hint, like they know, like they'll get the hint and then try to do what they can to improve things and make things better as things go on, because the union has a really great advantage where there are so many seasoned experienced people that are able to share their perspective and keep things nice and keep things professional, and they know how to, like, they know like things that are toxic. Like, for example, the creator of what's this it's a unicorn show where like there was a horse named Glendale and she was really funny. Centaur World. Okay.
Hmm.
So Centaur, the creator of Centaur World, she is so awesome. I'm going to find her name. Hold on. Centaur.
Megan
It was
Dong.
Megan, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, she was on the show. Yeah, check out the episode that we
Yes, Megan Dong.
recorded.
Megan
Yeah.
Dong is a fantastic example of how to show run like in a really constructive and positive way that I feel like a lot of indie people could really like learn from. One of the things that she talked about at Lightbox was, she was like, "Yeah, so I don't work past 6 p.m. I don't do it. I
Mhm.
won't do it, and I tell everyone who I'm working with, hey, I don't want you guys working past 6 p.m. Now, what she could have done is, let's say she's like, well, I'm show running, so I can work past 6 p.m. if I want to, but I don't want the people working with me, I don't want them to do that. But if you're the showrunner and you're setting the example for your team and you're working past 6 p.m., then
then they're going to be like, oh, we should
exactly.
too.
They're going to say we should, whether they're going to feel like they owe it to you, they're going to feel like it's expected. Someone else on the show might do it, and then you're going to feel pressure to do it because someone else is doing it. You want to keep up with what everyone else is doing. It's like capitalism. It's just like if you push yourself to an unhealthy limit, an unhealthy standard, everyone around you will do that as well. Like there's like you can't really fight it unless you set the example. So she was like, yeah, I can't work past 6 p.m. We have to get this done in the amount of time that we slotted. I can't work past 6 p.m. or my entire team will start doing it, and then they'll get groggy and it'll get toxic, and it's just not healthy. So like I know a lot of indie creators who are so like gung-ho about their art, and they're like, I'm gonna work until the sun comes up, and I don't blame them because they're driven by that passion and they're driven by that like artistic inspiration, and I think that's awesome. But when you're working on a team, if they know that you're doing that, they're all going to feel pressure to do it. And a lot of them might not be in a place to handle that kind of workload, but they're like, well, if I don't keep up with this person, then I'm going to get left behind, because they don't have the structure of a union, like keeping like expectations and standards in place, So like they kind of have to make up in their own head, oh, like what do I do to stay relevant with these people? I have to match their freak. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, if I don't match these people's freak, then I'm going to get left behind. And I completely understand that pressure. So, like, because it's not really your fault if your team, it's not your fault if your team tries to match your hours, but it also kind of is, because you have to keep in mind the effect that you have on them.
Yeah,
No one,
that makes sense.
it's hard to find where is the social responsibility? Where does that responsibility begin and end? It's kind of like a difficult thing to decide.
Yeah, because I can also see the alternative kind of being that if my team isn't able to stay late, then I'm going to pick up the slack and do everything I can to make their lives easier and take on that burden myself. So there's like a few different ways that you can look at it, but that even if your intent is that way, there's probably going to be somebody that reacts to it in the way that you're talking about, which can be hard.
Yeah, and like people who like stay late to keep their team from having to struggle and like work super long hours, those people, super sweet, super angels. People who like will send notes back like over and over and over and over again, and then it's like by the fifth note they're like, you know what, I think I'll just do this myself. Like you know what I mean? Those people are absolute angels, and I love them and bless them for everything. But also like I guess like if you're in that position, I would try to just do my best to not let my team know how long I was working, or only let the people on the team know that I feel like can handle that. Yeah, my secret burden. Like
my secret burden.
Can they handle that information? Like, do you think that person isn't going to feel compelled to try and show out to keep in your good graces? Like just be aware of the people around you and the effect that you have on them, because indie creators are also like, they're kind of like micro celebrities. They're also kind of, a lot of them are famous, so they have that like Hollywood effect on people. And it's like I would never want someone to feel like, oh, I really want, like someone who's working on the Robot Jones Reanimated, for example, just because I work in the industry and just because I worked on Smiling Friends or I worked on Meat Canyon, I would never, ever want any of those people to feel like they didn't deserve to work with me, or they didn't, like what they turned in was like bad. Like anytime they say that, I'm like, no, your shot was great. Don't put yourself down. You're amazing. And you're breathtaking, like, because, for me to be blessed enough for them to come and work on my free, like my unpaid fan project is a blessing. I owe them. They don't owe me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. That's I love that insight and the way of thinking about the team and working with people. I think because this craft, it's such like team heavy, and you do have to really think about the how you interact with others and how you keep morale and you keep the quality, but you also make sure like people feel like taken care of and appreciated.
Yeah.
It's about longevity and long-term relationships too. And sometimes people throw those out the window for the sake of the deadline, as opposed to kind of thinking about like, is doing this negatively affecting my team? And sometimes when like there's a scenario where instead of kind of the creator or the producers standing up for the team and asking and saying like, we need more time, this just is not going to get delivered.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that it makes you look bad, but it's like me looking bad or the whole team suffering and having poor working conditions. Like which one are you gonna pick? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real.
That's very true.
I wanted to give a quick shout out to all the people who asked questions and that we couldn't get to our Patron.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Anyone who's listening to this right now, they're like, oh, they didn't answer my question. You like DM me and I will happily answer it. Like I'm super down, especially because right now I'm in between gigs, so like I'm not I don't have a lot of like stuff on my plate right now. Like I'm gonna be working on the Robot Jones Reanimated, so I would be it'd be so lovely. You guys call me, ask me any question you want. I'm more than happy. Yeah, call me, beat me. 1000%, because like I'm so I ramble a lot. So like, please feel free, because I would definitely love to like answer any of those questions,
Heck yeah.
Yay.
Thanks our patron Puzzle Glum, to Instagram commenter Peru El Campion, to Zach Cartoonist, Stel Checknat20, thanks to at Rupa Koopa Troopa, Creep Jonah on Twitter, Noah Banana Wow on Twitter, and on YouTube, thanks to at Carl Little, and Chanimates. We have a final question for you, Margo, which is our titular question. Do you experience creative block? And if you do, what do you do to deal with it?
Oh my god, every day. I don't know what to draw. Fuck, dude. Every day. I gotta figure something out. Like, this is gonna sound silly. I've started, like, going to a random word generator and just generating a random word. And I'll try to, like, use that to, like, draw the characters that I really like. And, like my own little characters that I've been drawing, like, a little more often. I'll actually draw them right here. I'll think to myself, man, I really would love to draw my characters, but I don't know what the fuck to draw. So I'll just look up like random word generator and it'll say toaster. And it's like, great. Okay, so maybe I'll draw them doing like a breakfast thing. And that will help a lot. So I don't know. If you want to do like a random, anyone who has creative block and like I want to draw, but I don't know what the hell to draw. Or if they're like, I just can't, I can't get something out, go to random word generator. That might help. And then the only other thing that helps too is I try to get away from stuff that people have like there's this thing called a filter where like let's say you look at a dog, like a real dog in real life, and you draw that dog. That dog wasn't, you are the filter, right? So let's say you look at a dog that someone has drawn. That person is the filter. Let's say you draw a dog inspired by the dog they drew. There's now two filters, right? I try to either do real life stuff, so I am the filter, or I try to watch media where there's only been one filter. So for example, I try not to surround myself with a lot of fan art. I'll watch One Piece. Horrible example, but stay with me. I'm on episode like 702 of One Piece, and I just let it play while I'm working, or while I'm just even like handling like, I don't know, like finance stuff, like looking at my budget. I'll just let One Piece play, like things where it's only one filter. So like Oda is the filter, right? And I just get inspired by how other people have used their filter, like how other people have interpreted things in life and making their own art. Or I do figure drawing, or I like to go out and like talk to people. This is gonna sound also silly. I love meeting strangers and talking to them. Like I love like going to the grocery store, and I love, instead of doing self-checkout, I like going to the checkout with the people.
And finding what their Discord is.
Yeah, what's your Discord? Yeah. Carolyn, like 77-year-old Carolyn at Ralph's. I need her on Discord, dude. We have to play Among Us. But I like just talking to them, like, how's your day going? And just meeting people who live different lives than me, and kind of giving me, like, just studying people, like giving me ideas on like not only how to, like, what to draw, but also just how to be more like grateful for the life that I live, and like, being able to share experiences with those people. So yeah, like creative, I get creative block a lot, but like looking at, I love this. I love whatever this. I love this dog.
You're talking about drawing dog. I figured I'd try to draw a dog.
I love that dog. That's insane. That looks so creative. Look at that. Look at like the way you have the body hunched and like how his face is like turned, you know, like how you've turned the face and his nose is just out to the sky. Like and the back legs are crazy. That's so funny. Yeah. Like look at the mouth. Sorry, I have to cover it up with my hands so I can focus on what I'm saying. What the fuck was I saying? Yeah, being in real life, meeting real life people, talking to them kind of shocking you out of like whatever pressure is kind of like beating down on you by being connected with people who you know, like talk to people like who they don't know what a fucking digital circus is. Like this is Carolyn at Ralph's who has like who's been there for 15 years and is just big chillin', you know, like talk to her. But also like just consuming media that only has one filter and just seeing how people have just interpreted life and like how they've made, you know, like their creative lens. Studying one creative lens at a time, I think is a really good way to put it.
I think it's refreshing to talk to people who don't even know what cringe is. You know what I mean? Right?
It's like they know that they've cringed, but they didn't know there was a word for it.
Yeah, for real. That's so funny. That is so true. Yeah, that's great. That was amazing. That was such a great conversation, dude. Thank you so much for.
Of course. I had so much fun. I really like talking. I don't know why the fuck I don't do it more often.
Well, you know, we were so lucky that you wanted to talk with us. And with that, that's the end of this creative block. Margo, thanks for being our guest and sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And thanks to our listeners. Follow us on social media at CRTV Block, where we ask for drawing prompts, questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to our editor Clements for editing the podcast and making our guests look really good.
Thank you.
Marco for helping us produce the show. Abuka for creating the short clips that we've been putting out to try to reach all the people that don't know what the show is.
And if you love our show, you can support us on Patreon. Patreon gives you access to our Discord community and early access to interviews. You can also support us in other free ways that are like liking, subscribing, commenting. Please, it really goes a long way. And also check out the link in the description to find all of Marco's social media.
Oh,
and,
yes.
And take a little look. Take a little look. Do you subscribe to our YouTube?
I don't know. If we want, dude. Like, no pressure. I don't care.
If you guys, do you subscribe to all of our YouTubes?
Yeah. Subscribe to them.
Take a look.
So subscribe to them for sure. But if you guys want to watch me, I don't know, post my shit once a month, then go for it.
Heck yeah. I've been your host, B.
And I was Sean. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.